I'm Brewster Kale, digital librarian here at the Internet Archive, and the idea is to, well, build a library of everything.
As a picture of a painting, every film ever shot could be viewed instantly in your home.
Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem.
Now there is a library collecting all these moments in history.
It's a time machine. I call it a Wayback.
We've gathered 600 gigabytes, but there's a lot to go.
The Wayback Machine started by collecting web pages, but Brewster wanted so much more.
What do you mean everything?
Everything.
Possibilities are endless. Music, books, radio, games.
Let's rock. CDs, laser discs. The Digital Library of Alexandria. But now it looks like it may slip through our hands.
Here in New York City,
The country's major book publishers are accusing Internet Archive of digital piracy.
The publishers come along and they go, you can't archive this book. They don't want libraries to preserve this history.
At the same exact time, major record labels sue the Internet Archive for $600 million in damage.
And then on top of it all, we get hacked?
They're trying to shut down the Internet Archive completely.
When the Internet Archive first started, it seemed sort of innocent, but now it's like this chief record-keeping system of the whole world. And for Brewster, it just never ends.
This stuff has got people's dreams. What do people look for? What are people dreaming that the technology can finally answer?
Hi, everybody. That film is being made by Jason Sussberg and David Alvarado, two filmmakers who are working really hard on that particular movie, and as it implies, they're going to release it to the public domain next year when they finish it. So thank them so much for that. As they've done documentaries on Bill Nye and Stuart Brand, I mean, they know what they're doing. And as part of knowing what they're doing, they know they should be here. So you're going to see them around a little bit filming us during this. And don't worry, we knew they were there. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. Hello, I'm Jason Scott, the free-range archivist at the Internet Archive. I just wanted to get a few things ahead of time before our wonderful, wonderful show tonight. Is everyone excited? I hope they are. Perfect, perfect. If you don't know what a free-range archivist is, they don't know either. I fooled them for so long. I want to welcome everyone to the Great Room. And isn't it a great room? How many of you, this is your first time in the Great Room of the Internet Archive? Wow! Well, welcome. We do all sorts of things here. This is the world's most inefficient meeting room in San Francisco. Thank you. Also, I promised I would do this. Raise your hand if this is your first year at the archive, working there. We got a few. Good. We're always bringing people on, and we're always, everyone's always excited. And, the question always comes, like, what's up with the creepy little people? What? Who are they? Are they dead? They're not dead. If you work at the archive for 3 years, we make a little statue of you because we don't have stock options. And we've added a little handful tonight. They're here and they've joined up. I'm somewhere in here myself. And behind you are the actual servers doing some of the work of the Internet Archive. And it will be running all night. If you see a light blinking blue, that's somebody enjoying something at the archive. So we like to be kind of a living, again, most inefficient data center in San Francisco. but we're proud of all of that. So this is going to be a really great night tonight. I'm just here for a moment. I have been working at the archive for nigh on 15 years, and I love every second of it. And it is a bright, beautiful time here. Maybe not everywhere, but we're still standing, we're still here, we're still having a good time. As all the sorts of kerfuffles happened, we just kept shoving the data out, and people kept using us, and people kept sending us love and money, and they were doing an incredible job of keeping us around, and we're proud to do that. Tonight's about celebration. It's about special times and special limits reached. So, thanks everybody for coming. Let's have a great night.
It all started with a connection. And suddenly, a new world opened before us.
Can you explain what internet is? What internet is?
You've got mail.
We built places to play, to laugh, to discover. The web was ours to shape. Soon, the web became more than entertainment.
We are calling it iPhone.
It became a stage for voices that could change the world.
The bigger your platform, the bigger your responsibility.
But with growth came fragility, misinformation, broken links, a memory hole where culture could vanish. That's why the Wayback Machine is so important. An effort to make sure the story of the web would never be lost. But the Wayback Machine isn't just an archive. It's our living memory. It lets us revisit decades of our shared hopes and dreams, our visions for the future, our remembrances of the past. Together, we've built more than just web pages. We've built the largest library in human history. A shared memory of us all. This is the web we've built.
Welcome everybody to the Internet Archive. Thank you very much for coming out. It's just actually spectacular what it is that's happened over the last 30 years, where we've given people an opportunity to make their voice heard, to write things down, to go and share them to the globe, and boy, did they. We have probably over 1 billion voices that have been now not only shared, but recorded and put into a library. Tonight, we're celebrating a major goal for a long time, and maybe a milestone for a generation of 1 trillion web pages. That has been shared by these people all over the world, wanting to make sure that what they know is passed on to further generations. So I think it's just a fabulous, phenomenal success story. And in this, I'd like to introduce somebody that would like to help us celebrate and commemorate this. I would like to invite onto the stage California Senator Scott Wiener. Caitlin? Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for joining in on this celebration. Please, a few words.
Thank you. How's everyone doing tonight? A trillion pages. It's pretty extraordinary. You know, I think when you look at the moment in time we're in right now, when we think about it, we realize we've taken a lot of things for granted in the world in general and in this country in general, and sometimes you take things for granted until they're not there anymore, and then you realize how much we did take that for granted, and we're hopefully democracy, we're not taking too much for granted. And one of the things that I think people took for granted were libraries and archives and actually compiling information and compiling accurate information and compiling historical information so that we can actually be confident in knowing what happened and what didn't happen. And what we're seeing now in this country and in the world is people trying to sort of sometimes rewrite history and rewrite reality and come up with, what do they call it, alternative facts? Is that what they said during Trump 1, alternative facts? And what the Internet Archive does, what the Wayback Machine does, is to make clear that everything is there and that we know what's there. And so in this era of book banning and alternative facts, I am so deeply grateful for the work that this great archive does. And so from the California State Senate, we have a token of our appreciation, just to say a basic thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you.
We are cast in blue at this moment. Let's contrast this a little bit of what's happening in some other places in the United States in terms of what government support or lack of support there is for libraries. And what we're seeing here in San Francisco and also at the state level in California is solid support for libraries for everyone. Thank you very much, Scott Wiener. To bring this idea of 1 trillion web pages, into some sort of context, I would like to go way back. And basically of how did people think of our digital transition going? And how did they imagine it? How did artists put it forward? What were the dreamers thinking at that time? So in 1936, just to pick a particular date, H.G. Wells put forward this idea of a world encyclopedia that would be interlinked and be able to be usable in new and different ways that would be outside the bounds of paper. By 1945, Vannevar Bush laid out concrete plans for how do you have the Library of Congress in your desk and having it be interlinked and searchable and manipulatable in ways that predicted the World Wide Web and the link structures all the way through to the telepathic interfaces that we're still even working on today are outlined in this vision paper in 1945. So there was ideas of how we could go and make all of this work. By the 1960s and 1970s, some of it started to become real. This idea, so Ted Nelson and Doug Engelbart's work, to go and make it so that we can have hypertext and go and make it so that you can see the provenance of information, that we can model our brains and how they work inside these computers, but make them shareable. And I think one of the really important things out of this particular era is they pioneered the idea of personal publishing. The idea that everyone has an opportunity to write and be a part of this world. It wasn't going to happen to us. We were going to be embedded in this electronic future that they wanted to see. By 1991, we started seeing some of these things come about. There was the beginning of the World Wide Area Information Servers, the Gopher project, the World Wide Web was starting to show up on some of the scientific networks. And even in the New York Times article in 1991, tried to show a little bit of what this world would look like if you could just click through and be able to read Shakespeare from some other place. This was really the future, but it was starting to happen out there, and it was a dream of where we were going with this internet, and now, by then, the start of things like the World Wide Web. Now, if we move forward a little bit further into 1994, there was an ad by a telecom company that tried to explain a little bit of what this world might look like.
There will be a road that will not connect 2 points. It will connect all points. Its speed limit will be the speed of light. It will not go from here to there. There will be no more there. There will be no more there. We will all only be here.
So this was a dream of connecting us all. No matter where you were, you weren't bound by space. And the precursors, we weren't going to be bound by time. We were going to be able to learn from anybody, from anywhere. By 1996, the Internet Archive started. Hooray! And the idea was to build that dream of the library of everything accessible to everybody, but probably more importantly, it would share and be a home for everyone's voices. It would be a really inclusive, massive library. And so that was a dream that we were all working towards. But people were trying to still figure out, what was this thing? I mean, by 1996, you were still connecting to the internet in a kind of way. And so it was all sort of, and the dominant metaphor at that time was cyberspace. It's out there, in space. So there were these artists that were trying to render what these look like, and they were sort of cool fly-throughs of this sort of cyberspace, but it was really out there someplace. And to be able to go and deal with cyberspace, you needed to be able to navigate. And so you're exploring, or you're on safari, right? These are the dominant metaphors of how we were moving through this particular weird cyberspace world. Okay, so now we're in cyberspace, and it still feels pretty distant, and you're not really part of it. But then it's starting to come closer. It's a frontier. You're a pioneer now. And so in 1990, we had the formation of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Yeah. And that was the metaphor with, pioneers, arrows, that kind of thing. But also the information superhighway. We were going to go and commercialize it. Right? We're going to civilize that Wild West out there. So that was sort of the metaphor of what we're building. Pretty far still from libraries. Okay, now the next real metaphor, at least in my little history here, is surfing. Ta-da! Okay, we're now surfing. Right? So surfing means that you have a role you can play. Right? It's like, okay, you may not be really part of it quite yet, but you're surfing on top of it, and you're surfing around, and it's kind of awesome. But you then roll forward time into the mid-2000s, and we have this sort of always-on, demanding your attention world. We have the Facebook. And it's sort of this attention-grabbing, sort of glued onto your face sort of internet that you just weren't allowed to escape. It was basically demanding your attention, and you were expected to be online at all times. It moved even further. I'll come back up again, but it did turn kind of dark. So we started to have these algorithms that not only told you what it is you're supposed to read and see and believe and buy and perform for advertisers, but we also started to see these AIs moving us around on a chessboard. Quite literally, in this case of this Lyft app, that would basically go and tell drivers where they should go to be able to get more rides. So we're starting to see sort of this AI thing, these algorithm things that are sort of feeling kind of oppressive. Even back in 1968, Kubrick gave us a view of what AIs will be seeing. And these are views from Hal's point of view, or whatever it is that's on Jupiter, was sort of looking at our spaceman, and sort of, it was looking down on us and studying us and coming against us. By 1999, The Matrix, I think, personified sort of our anxieties of AI with Agent Smith, who is just sort of completely in your face AI that is dominating the environment. Now, this isn't the path we have to be going down, really. So there was this dream of an internet that was made for us, by us, to be able to make us better people. Yes, using technologies. Yes, going and having games with lots of different players and winners. But a fun and interesting world. And that is very much still within our grasp. So I'd suggest that the decentralized web communities that are now coming around all over the world are trying to build that game with many winners. That we can have an environment that we're sharing what we know, using technology appropriately and privately when it's appropriate, to go and make it so that we're building something kind of great. So I'd say what we started with was this sort of library vision. And I think actually, in terms of an artist, Alan Rath, I asked Alan in 1996, when we finished our first full web crawl in the beginning of 1997, I said, what does a web archive look like? We were going to donate it to the Library of Congress. And so he made this. And he called it 2 terabytes. That's how big the web was. 2 terabytes in 63 inches, the World Wide Web, 1997. And that was a vision of what is the collective works of humankind in digital form look like. And we donated it to the Library of Congress. They put it in their front hall for 15 years, and then they donated it back. And it's here, and we're very happy. But now time has moved on, right? And we now have 1 trillion web pages, which is kind of great. But it's still hard to kind of figure out, how does that look? What does that look like? How do you interact with such a thing? So Internet Archive Europe, yes, there is one. Internet Archive Europe, working with the National Library of the Netherlands, came up with a cool display that was displayed in the National Library here. And it's this cool box. And you can basically zoom around. This is just the websites of the Netherlands. And so you're up and down, and it's kind of fun. You can zoom around. You can go in, and see, I don't know, let's go for that one. And say, go. Let's now see that one, but over time. Oh, under construction. Okay, so that's been around for a while. All right, so it's, yeah, we have archives of under construction. But it wasn't under construction in 2018 and the like. So you can basically go and pull up and zoom around in this world. And you can even ask it questions. Museums. Ta-da! And so you can basically go from different museums to different museums in the Netherlands. That looks kind of fun. And say, all right, let's take a look at that one. And be able to see it year by year evolve. Well, it wasn't that great in those collections. Anyway, so the idea is to be able to show and play with the breadth that we've accomplished and the depth that we have all built together. This is the web we've built. This is the web that we want. This is the web we want to make go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion to 3 trillion. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Vince Cerf. I'm Vice President and Chief Internet Evangelist at Google. And I've just learned about the incredible milestone of the Internet Archive, 1 trillion web pages. It has preserved an enormous amount of history over the course of their data collection, something which I feel is absolutely essential. In the absence of what they have done, the 22nd century will have no clue what the 21st century was all about. And so we owe them an enormous debt of gratitude for having created and executed on this collection. And Brewster Kahle, of course, being the founder, deserves enormous credit for that, as does his amazing crew of talented engineers. So congratulations on reaching that milestone. Keep at it. There's more coming.
Hello. My name is Audrey Witters, and I am very honored to be here celebrating this incredible milestone, 1 trillion archived internet pages, everything from hit counters and under construction warnings, to Craigslist and Napster, to Wikipedia and Yelp. 1 trillion acts of creation. I'm here because of my work on the early internet, which began in the summer of 1994. There were not 1 trillion web pages then. In fact, there were so few that they could all be listed on a single web page, which even on dial-up, could load in the time it took the intern, which was me, to go brew a pot of coffee. One of the websites that launched that year was GeoCities. And they did something, they did something that at the time was quite novel. They invited people to create their own virtual space and to use it to publicly celebrate who they were, whatever sense of self they wanted to curate and share with the world. We do this all the time now, maybe with social media. But in 1994, this was a completely new idea. If you remember, in GeoCities, we all had our own addresses, right, in these distinct little neighborhoods. So I was an engineer, but I worked for a graphic arts software company, and all my coworkers had addresses in Soho, which was for all the cool artsy people. So I got an address in Soho too, 5119, so that I could be, I guess, like close to them. And I started playing with digital art. And it seems that I contributed my own tiny piece of digital history, a little animated alien GIF, which apparently made its way around the early web. Actually, So actually, my boss at the time, Julie Sigwart, drew him. I animated him, and I published him, and I was pretty darn shocked to be asked about him nearly 3 decades later. But I actually think he is a great representation of the spirit of that time, before we worried about optimizing and monetizing every click. Right? This tiny, quirky act of creation that was made and offered freely just because a few of us had energy around it. And I think it's really important for us to remember that spirit, that joy of creation. What can happen when you give people the tools and the invitation to publicly and exuberantly celebrate themselves and everything that makes them unique? So thank you to the Internet Archive for preserving the history of the early web, that time of collective effort and quirky, chaotic creation, so that we can have really fun moments of nostalgia, but even more so that the next generation of creators can be inspired to find their own ways to promote exploration, collaboration, and joyful expression. Thank you. Thank you for archiving our creation and protecting the human story of the internet.
Hi, my name is Annie, and I like Wikipedia. I also like the Wayback Machine. There are 8 million articles, anything you want. There is a list of lists of lists. There are so many sexually active popes. There are boops boops in a bucket. Screaming in music, screaming in general. What else could you need? Wikipedia used to have a whole category, songs about the boys being back in town. This has actually been deleted because there's only one. But it's in the Wayback Machine. There's relative dating, not to be confused with incest. There's Vienna bread, and the volunteer who uploaded this photo, for some reason, used radial motion blur. I think bread should be photographed with radial motion blur more often. The reason I like Wikipedia is because it's made by probably humans. Although I guess we can't be sure. Some of those humans appear in photos on Wikipedia, like the high-fivers, celebrities in my mind. Up high, down low, victim misses, too slow, with finger guns, hyperlinked, and despair. I was very curious about these photos. I'm actually curious about a lot of photos on Wikipedia. And so I used the Wayback Machine to track down these people, the high-fivers, and I have really good news for you. They are still together, they have children, and they are still high-fiving as a family. So. If Wikipedia is worth anything at all, it's because of the citations. And those citations are increasingly hard to access. More than half of all Wikipedia articles, according to a study last year, contain a dead link. That's not a concern, though, for us, because we have so many partnerships with the Internet Archive to make sure that those links are archived in the Internet Archive and can be clicked by anyone who wants to, anyone at all. You don't know what matters until it does. Do you guys remember Gmail, the original Garfield email? Like the lasagna-loving cat? Gmail was originally a Garfield thing. And, does this matter in the grand scheme of things? I don't know. Maybe several Garfield Gmail email accounts appeared in the Syria files. They were of interest to the Syrian government. Don't know why, but you never know. Maryland's license plates at one point contained this domain. Unfortunately, a state employee, I'm assuming, did not renew it, and so then it went to a Philippines gambling site. All of these are in the Internet Archive. Thank you so much. Who is this guy who's interested in maintaining an unblemished record? That would be Bernard L. Madoff. How about the great fun here will be for all of us to discover just how good we can really be? Enron. Invest now. And once upon a time, can openers were Y2K compliant. There are a lot of things that are archived here that an archivist wouldn't think to preserve, but that do matter. I have been very moved by the comments on this kind of random Claire de Lune upload on YouTube, because there's a British teenager named Mr. Tortilla 3895 who journaled in the comments for his entire adolescence. We watched him go through everything. Heartbreak, despair. He attracted a loyal fan base and a new purpose in life. And on day 1,000, Mr. Tortilla said to his many fans, all of this, and this one line I think about all the time, give life a chance even if it punches you in the stomach. So thank you to Mr. Tortilla. Thank you to everyone who shares their life online. And nobody can check 1 trillion web pages, and so think about how many more Mr. Tortillas are out there for us to find.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Annie. Give it up for Annie. Yeah. Welcome. I'm Mark Graham. I have the honor and the pleasure of managing the Wayback Machine project here at the Internet Archive. Thank you. You know, I don't know what you were doing on January 20th, but on that day, when I saw US government websites going offline, I wasn't panicking. Why? Because since 2004, the Internet Archive has collaborated with others, including Harvard's Library Innovation Lab, the Environmental Data and Governance Initiative, the Common Crawl Foundation, the University of North Texas, and others to archive those sites. As part of that effort, since last fall, we have preserved more than 400 million web pages, more than 2 million videos, and hundreds of thousands of data sets, all published by the US government. Many of them can now only be found on the Wayback Machine. But you know, that's on top of the hundreds of millions of web pages we add to the Wayback Machine day in and day out. This work is done in collaboration with others, including our own Archive It project, supporting more than 1,300 libraries, archives, and museums, and also the volunteer archive team community, and thousands of people like you who submit URLs to the Wayback Machine's Save Page Now feature. Thank you. And we too love Wikipedia. One of the partnerships we're most proud of is with the Wikimedia Foundation and the Wikipedia communities. This year, I am thrilled to announce that we have identified and fixed more than 28 million broken links from Wikipedia articles. And on top of that, separate from that, we've added more than 4.2 million links pointing to books and papers available from archive.org. That's all helping to basically add to the provenance of the claims that people make in Wikipedia articles. Another important partnership that we're happy to announce tonight is with Automatic, the makers of WordPress. You've maybe heard of them. They power a lot of the public web. I'm super happy to announce that tonight we launched with them the Internet Archive Wayback Machine Link Fixer, giving WordPress operators an easy way to automatically find and repair broken links based on archives from the Wayback Machine. But you know, since the launch of ChatGPT by OpenAI in 2022, and the rise of other AI companies, the open web that we have all benefited from, and that is the basis of the trillion archive web pages that we are celebrating here tonight, is at risk. More and more services that have been accessible are now blocking access. For example, I'm sure that many of you have heard that Reddit decided they didn't want their pages archived by the Wayback Machine. What's up with that, right? So this is making it harder for memory institutions like the Internet Archive to do our jobs. Look, I don't know exactly what the future is going to bring, but I do know this, that with your continued support and with the creativity and the commitment of our incredible staff and collaborators, we're going to keep on building the library that the world deserves. One that remembers, one that connects us, and one that ensures that no matter how much the web changes, that the knowledge will not be lost. Journalists are one of the key communities that make use of the Wayback Machine. As such, I am thrilled now to introduce Lily Jamali from the BBC, and she's going to share with us a few words about the value of the Wayback Machine in her reporting. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I begin, I just want to know, is it too late for me to get a Garfield Gmail account? It is? Okay, I thought that might be the case. Thank you, Mark. It is so wonderful to be here with all of you tonight. When I first got to the BBC about a year ago, one story I knew I wanted to share with our global audience was about the work of the Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine. What happens in this building is a mission-driven public service. Yeah! And there are a whole lot of parallels there with what I do and what so many of my colleagues do in public media. I first crossed paths with Mark at a conference for investigative journalists. I had used the Wayback Machine before, of course, but I didn't fully appreciate the extent of the project until I heard him walk us all through how it worked in a workshop. It helped me understand the Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine and how it could be deployed to hold the powerful to account. These tools are so critical. They help us journalists fact-check claims. They help us see how companies and governments may have selectively edited online materials, or even deleted statements or social media posts that they would rather that the public didn't see. For a job that involves so much research, these tools are absolutely fundamental. Last year, Pew Research Center found that a quarter of all web pages that had existed anytime between 2013 and 2023 are no longer accessible, that is, without help from the Wayback Machine. Sometimes that is by happenstance, but sometimes it's deliberate. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the archive stepped in to help preserve Ukrainian websites, part of their digital cultural legacy. And earlier this year, I did have the opportunity to profile the archive. By then, though, the new administration had started deleting certain US government websites, including those that celebrated DEI initiatives. I interviewed a former Air Force flight test engineer who had made history as a participant in an all-female flyover. The record of that had been erased, and she and her daughter had actually shed tears over the loss of this record of that huge accomplishment. But they shed tears again, this time of happiness, when they learned that the Wayback Machine had preserved those memories for them. In a lot of ways, we journalists have the tendencies of archivists ourselves. We spend a lot of time trying to keep track of things. Investigative reporters especially build on our own prior reporting. A few years ago, a Reynolds Journalism Institute report found that just 7 out of 24 newsrooms that they interviewed were fully preserving and archiving their own content. And so the Wayback Machine has also been essential to reporters trying to preserve their own work as our industry shrinks. As a journalist and just as a prolific user of the internet, I want to congratulate the Internet Archive on this incredible milestone. 1 trillion pages archived is quite a feat. Here's to the next trillion.
Hello, everyone. I'm Catherine Marr, President and CEO of NPR. It's an honor to join you today in celebrating a truly historic accomplishment and one close to my heart. Congratulations to the Internet Archive and everyone who contributed to this milestone. 1 trillion web pages. That's 1 trillion artifacts and snapshots of our interconnected world. It's a testament to the Internet Archive's unwavering commitment to safeguarding the integrity of the open web and its history, ensuring that this vast digital record remains free and open for everyone. At NPR, we share many common values with the Internet Archive: a deep commitment to access to information, a dedication to public service, and a belief in strengthening societies through information and dialogue. We live today in an era in which information is unstable. It emerges suddenly, decays rapidly, disappears instantly. It's increasingly difficult for anyone to build stability on this volatility, whether you're an independent learner or society seeking common ground. So in this moment, the archive's role in preserving news, public discourse, and our shared stories is more critical than ever. The internet is today's living historical record, a cultural mirror reflecting our society. Who we are, where we come from, what we perceive matters, how we connect, and how we make sense of ideas, events, and one another. By preserving this record, the archive helps us remain grounded in what we know and what we think we believe, and accountable to how we change and evolve over time. It supports vital research and allows us to understand current events within a broader context. This preservation counters the challenge of disappearing news and lost meaning online. It provides us an enduring resource for journalists, scholars, and the public alike. It protects our shared stories, and it strengthens our civic dialogue. So let's all celebrate this incredible milestone together. The Internet Archive and the Wayback Machine are trusted, vital resources, and we at NPR are proud to stand with you in this important work. Thank you. Please keep it up. Keep on keeping on.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, good evening. I'm Joy Chesbro, and for the past 6 years, I've been heading up the philanthropy here at the Internet Archive with an amazing team. Can the team please stand up? Who's on the philanthropy team? We keep this place running. We're raising a lot of funds. Thank you, everybody. As you've heard, we've reached an extraordinary milestone. 1 trillion web pages preserved on the Wayback Machine. This makes us the largest repository of internet history ever assembled. And it's made possible because of the hundreds of thousands of donations received and the millions raised from 200,000 unique donors who give. Philanthropy manages all these moving parts, this department. We support the journalists, we support the entrepreneurs, the educators, the technologists, and people like all of you who donate your services and donate every day. Millions of people all over the world rely on this nonprofit, the Internet Archive. And why? Why? Because people know that the historical memory on the web remains accessible for future generations when the Internet Archive exists. Your support allows the archive to preserve all of the voices, the stories, and the artifacts of our society, a digital record of culture on the web. So tonight, to celebrate this incredible 1 trillion web pages milestone on the Wayback Machine, the Philanthropy Department has launched the Web We've Built campaign. Thank you. This campaign allows you to fundraise as an individual. We're giving it back to you. So you can join as an existing team. You can create your own fundraising team to support the Internet Archive. So we're asking all of you and all of you listening tonight to join us. And what's even better is there is a $1 million match that's been secured by a generous foundation, which will triple every donation raised now until December 31st. So let's hit that $1 million goal. So you just scan the QR code, donate, and encourage others to join this and join your team. Share it on Instagram, Blue Sky, Mastodon, to maximize awareness to help us preserve the next 1 trillion web pages. If you have further questions, we're going to be outside. We have a great table. We have great tattoos. If you want any tattoos. But we're there to answer questions, this amazing team. And together, we appreciate all the unwavering support of this mission. I'm confident that the digital record of our history in this digital age is in really good hands and will continue to be preserved because your financial support, and we deeply thank you today. Thank you.
The World Wide Web began with a simple idea. That people everywhere should be able to share and connect information freely. Tim Berners-Lee built the first website, the first browser, and the foundation for the open web. From that spark grew a universe of knowledge, communication, and creativity. As the Internet Archive celebrates 1 trillion web pages archived, we honor the visionary who started it all. Thank you Sir Tim.
Good evening. My name is Luca Massara. I'm a humanities scholar and educator at Stanford University. In the humanities, the word that I spend the most time with is why. Why should we care about the past? Why should we care about 1 trillion links preserved? One answer that I like comes from William Faulkner, who wrote that the past is never dead. It's not even past. You see, whether we know it or not, the past is always shaping our present moment. If you ate cereal for breakfast this morning, for example, there's a historical reason why it became a staple in the American diet and why it ended up on your breakfast table. There's a historical reason why we're congregating here today in San Francisco, and it's because internet infrastructure was laid on top of old railroad networks. History is essential because it helps us understand how our own lives came to be, but more importantly for me, history helps us understand how our lives can be made different. You see, I teach the past not out of a sense of nostalgia for a world gone by, but because the past tells us that the present does not need to be the way that it is. It changes. Our world changes. It can be different now because it has been different before. And I know that to be true because I grew up online very irresponsibly at the turn of the century. I came of age just as an older and freer web was being paved over by monetization, platforms, and algorithmic echo chambers. Those are the characteristics of the web that unfortunately younger generations inherit today. But it is not the web that they need to inherit, thanks to the Internet Archive. The Wayback Machine has tended to 1 trillion seeds that will nourish our future. All that remains is for us to harvest and use them. For example, from the fruits of these 1 trillion seeds, I have written conference papers about forgotten legal uses of peer-to-peer file sharing networks between public universities. For my personal enjoyment, I've recovered my old chat messaging history, which I'm not going to share pictures of because it's really awkward. For the benefit of my friends and family, I've recovered my all-time favorite biscuit recipe, which to my horror and to my friends' horror has disappeared online and I didn't write it down, but it's thankfully backed up in the Wayback Machine. The secret, if you're wondering, is freezing your buttermilk. Those are just my personal stories, and I'm sure that everybody here has their own experiences surfing on the Wayback Machine and recovering things. What I want to emphasize is that 1 trillion pages are 1 trillion opportunities to change our present moment. Thank you. That requires that we look to the past, not with nostalgia, but with initiative. And in the spirit of bold initiatives, I'm here today to celebrate 1 trillion web pages, because that number is unbelievably absurd. 1 trillion web pages available to the public for free is absurd squared. And against all the chaos and madness in this world today, what I think we need are more absurd ideas and people who are willing to congregate together and defend them, just like we're doing right now. We need to support public serving institutions like the Internet Archive. And we do that work not just with our wallets and time, but we do it when imaginative and passionate and caring people like you and you and you and every person in this room and every person online, when you sail the seas of the old web, and you share the treasures that were left behind with the younger generation. When we share the web that we've built together, the possibility of a free internet by and for the people lives on. Thank you. And here to help us celebrate those 1 trillion web pages in sound and music is composer Erica Oba, performing her original composition, Blue Lights, commissioned for this milestone. Please join me in welcoming Erica.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This piece that you're about to hear is called Blue Lights, and it was originally commissioned for the Del Sol String Quartet, and they premiered it in this very hall 2 weeks ago on October 7th. So the version you'll hear today is a slightly rearranged version for synthesizers. So we've got Chris Trinidad on synthesizer bass. We've got Eli Maliwan on electronic wind instrument and laptop. And Eli also created the drum track that you'll hear accompanying us today. And I'll be on keyboards. So my entry point for creating a piece that celebrates this momentous occasion of 1 trillion web pages was to kind of zoom in and focus on ultimately the human-to-human connections in physical space that allow for this vast digital archive. So this piece is a celebration of this building and this hall. I had the opportunity to visit this space early on in the creation process, and I was really struck by the fact that you can actually see the physical servers in this space. It's kind of amazing. You can see the blue lights, and you can hear the drones. And I embraced the sound of the drones as part of the compositional process. And today I'd like to invite all of you to participate in this piece and harmonize with the drones, harmonize with us. While we perform, there'll be a slide that you'll be able to see that has a series of prompts. And I'd like to take a moment right now to briefly go through each of those actions with you. So if we could pull up the slide, please. Here we are. So just one at a time, please join me as we go through the list. So first, just take in a breath, breathe in, and breathe out. Now take a moment to just quietly listen to the space we're in. You can really hear those drones. So now take in a deep breath, and for the full length of an exhale, exhale on a shh sound. So breathe in, and shh. Beautiful. Now we're going to do the same thing with a tss sound. So breathe in and so now I'd like to invite you all to join me in a low hum. This doesn't have to be any particular pitch. Just pick somewhere comfortable in your low range and quietly hum. So breathe in and go. That's a beautiful chord. We're going to do the same thing. Now pick a pitch a little bit higher. Again, it doesn't have to be a specific note, just something comfortable and high in your range. So breathe in. For this last one, I'd like for you to listen to your neighbors, listen to the room, and try to blend and match the sound that you hear. And while we're playing, that could be matching to one of us, or matching to the drones, or to your neighbors. So breathe in. That was a beautiful chord. You're all going to be great at this. So while we're playing, please feel free to choose any of the prompts at any given time. And if you feel moved to do so, hum low, hum high, shh, do any of them. And at any time, feel free to just quietly listen. So this is Blue Lights, and we hope you enjoy our piece.
Hey everyone, we're almost ready for the big countdown. My name is Brenton. I'm on the UX team, which is responsible for the archive.org website. I've been at the archive for 9 years. That's 3 squared.
And I'm Tracy. I've been at the archive for 25 years, a quarter century, and that's 5 squared.
Oh, wow. That's 4 squared years to go for me to catch up.
What? Those are impressive squared numbers, but even more impressive is tonight we're going to celebrate 1 million squared pages. 1 trillion pages have now been captured in our Wayback Machine.
And just think, each one of those web pages was created by someone. The interconnected web was made by people. And so what better way to celebrate this milestone than by recognizing some of the people behind the scenes at the Internet Archive.
Elizabeth McLeod, Senior Manager of Satellite Digitization Services, 15 years.
Tom Mayer, Development Coordinator, 2 years.
Eliza Zhang, Digitization Technician, 15 years.
Lisa Seberg, Open Librarian, 5 years.
Jefferson Bailey, Director of Archiving and Data Services, 11 years.
Isa Velasco, Engineer, UX Team, 6 years.
Scott Fong, Director of Finance and Corporate Secretary. He's retiring next year after 10 years of service. We will miss you, Scott.
Andrea Mills, Executive Director, Internet Archive, Canada. 19 years.
Maximilian Dorr, best title, Internet Archive Bot Engineer, 8 years.
Roxana Alfaro, Facility Support, 15 years.
Rachel Van Skoik, Patron Services Manager, 7 months.
Hank Bromley, Principal Engineer, Cluster Storage and Computation, 18 years.
Ruben Rodriguez, Core Infrastructure Engineer, 2 years. All right. It's going to get exciting. So now we're going to do a countdown of all these numbers going from 12 to 1. When we hit 1, we're going to have everyone yell, Happy 1 trillion. Can you all do that? Yeah, you can.
All right. Let's stand up if you're able. Come on, stand up if you're able. All right. Get your body ready. Shake it out. Get the juices going. All right. And to warm up your voice, repeat after me. 100.
100.
1,000.
1,000.
1,000,000.
1,000,000.
1,000,000,000.
1,000,000,000.
Oh, wait, hang on. Not there yet. Okay. Are you ready for the real thing?
Caitlin, roll that video.
12, 11,
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy 1 trillion!
Thank you all very much for coming tonight. This is a fantastic celebration. Let's go downstairs and dance in the streets. Woohoo!